Good evening. My name's Natasha Collins, and I am here to talk about how mental illness and physical illness should be treated the same. This is my persuasive speech for my independent study course. I first want to talk about what is mental illness. When we look at mental illness, this can be a combination of many things. According to NAMI, or the National Alliance on Mental Illness, they define mental illness as a condition or disorder that causes changes in a way a person thinks, feels, or acts. This can cause many different disorders like post-traumatic stress, anxiety, phobias. I feel like individuals that have mental illness do have an increased risk for developing long-term physical illnesses. This is because the body is one. When we look at mental illness, it affects everybody. It does not discriminate based on race, sex, gender. When looking at some statistics, about 1 in 5 individuals are suffering from a mental illness every year, and as well as 1 in 6 teenagers are also experiencing a mental health disorder every year. I also suffer from a mental illness. I have anxiety, so this is a big topic for me and my family, because not only do I suffer from anxiety, my sister suffers from drug abuse, which is caused by her mental disability of bipolar and depression. Some common symptoms when it comes to mental illness can include fatigue, lack of emotion, avoidance, agitation, anxiety, changes in sleeping habits, confusion. When I take a look at how my symptoms of anxiety is, I get hyperactive, I get very panicky, I make lists so I don't forget things, I check my list multiple times throughout the day. I am able to function, and it's high functioning, and after years of therapy, I am able to live with my disorder and talk about it freely, whereas many people are unable to do that. Some common types of mental illness include ADHD. This disorder is basically found early on in children. This can cause hyperactivity, impulses, which include fidgeting, and they have a hard time listening and focusing. This often causes them to have a lot of issues in school and results in lower grades. Depression can be detrimental. It can cause negative thoughts and even cause individuals to attempt suicide, which there is, over the last few years, has been an increase in lately. When you think of depression, it's periods of downs and hopelessness. And then we also have eating disorders like bulimia, or that they eat a lot of food and then purge it after, or you have binge eating because you have an obsession, or something like that. One of the biggest things with mental illness is that there's a stigma. There's a stigma, and it's been basically put in a closet that we shouldn't talk about it. But if we talk about it, we can understand it more. And once you understand something, we are able to easily adapt and find ways to help the situation. Mental illness is like any other medical disorder. We cannot just treat the mind or the body. We have to treat them together because a mental illness can turn into a long-term issue. Some of the things we can do to stop the stigma when it comes to mental illness is talking about it. Don't be afraid of sharing your experiences, as well as getting help, asking for help. It's okay to need help. We all do. Some of the long-term physical conditions that is associated with mental health include migraines, digestive issues like IBS, fatigue, insomnia. I can tell you, like, in my early stages of my anxiety, and even now at times I have a hard time sleeping. I often get migraines, and I'm tired a lot. But that could also be because I work and go to school. Through this speech, I'm trying to get across that mental conditions or mental health is something we need to talk about. It needs to be put up it needs to be talked about and placed at the forefront like any other health condition. Mental health is something that affects everybody, and if left untreated, it can cause detrimental effects to an individual, as bad as death. We are in a time where we are in technology or always on social media, where that is life, where teenagers are constantly being bullied online. And instead of being the bullies, we need to stand up, express how these disorders are affecting you, and get it out so everybody's talking about it. So when somebody goes to the doctor or asks for help, there isn't that stigma that there's something wrong with them. Mental health needs to be an important topic. We do not need to push it to the back. Mental health needs to be something as similar as going to the doctor if you have the flu or even COVID. As I worked through COVID, I saw a lot of mental health due to patients not being able to be with their families when they're in the hospital. They're dying alone. The families are even depressed. It's time to stand up. It's time to be proactive, and it's time to start educating and being supportive of others. Thank you.